Guys, how you doing? Aaron here. This is a really cool update. Today I wanted to show you guys the massive upgrade in filming equipment and stuff that I have got now, through and sort of explain why one of the main reasons why I stopped doing a lot of my retro content and was basically having a lot of problems filming with a lot of stuff that I was wanting to do, and why I lost a huge amount of motivation for doing some of my YouTube stuff. A big part of that was my equipment and some of the stuff that I was dealing with, and my skill and ability in terms of editing and the types of content that I wanted to create was just no longer feasible with the equipment that I had. Now, I could have just kept doing the same stuff, but there was just no motivation there. I wanted to push my own boundaries and learn a lot more, and I seemed to be learning a lot more on the editing side, but I just couldn't get the footage that I wanted to be able to create the videos and stuff that I wanted to make. So in this video here, I'm going to show you the rather large upgrade step that I've taken. And it's not all just for personal use. There's going to be some other stuff I'll talk to you about, some of the reasons why I bought a few things for this kit. But yeah, anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now what I have been working with to do all my videos and stuff. And you'll get an idea then of the upgrade that I'm taking. Okay, so let's flip the camera around and show you what I have been using for the last 10 years almost, actually. So what you are looking at here is our couch and lounge. Now, please ignore the fact that this is stained. We have a 2-year-old who runs around and wipes his hands and face and spills everything everywhere, and this couch seems to be just a stain magnet. At some point we're going to try and get it cleaned, but oh my god. So please ignore this. This is yogurt and whatever else he keeps spilling. Anyway, equipment wise, this is it. In 2012, when I finished, well, end of 2012, when I finished my study in screen and media production, I wanted to buy myself a camera so I could continue on doing the type of stuff that I wanted to do and learn for my career. Now, I looked at a lot of different options for cameras, and I ended up settling on this. This is a Canon EOS 650D. Really nice camera. This thing has been basically the workhorse of my channel and my own hobby and stuff now for since 2012 when I bought it. This camera I have used and abused. It has gone overseas with me, and man, I've done a lot with this camera. This isn't even a standard running standard software anymore. Because of the type of content and stuff that I was starting to make for the YouTube side of it, I started to run into limitations of the quality and the type of content that I wanted to make and the way I was editing. And I ended up going through various different firmware upgrades, like third-party user ones, and to get like different color profiles, I guess is probably the easiest way to describe it. Because the standard ones that Canon use while out of the box are great for out of the box type content. When you want to do anything with a lot of control in post-production, the camera doesn't have much usability if you just want to chuck it on like the neutral filter, for example. So this is running Technicolor and C-Log or C-Log 3 color profiles and things like that on here, so that I can do a lot more color correction control and things like that with all the footage in DaVinci Resolve. Pretty much this thing has just been set up to run now as, doing that. I'm not a photographer. I don't do photos very much. If I do photos, I basically swap it over to a different, like if I'm going on holiday, for example, I used to swap this over to back to the default, and then I just run around with the default and take photos. However, this is a DSLR. This thing is not very handy for stuffing in your pocket when you're wanting to go, on a bike ride around the lake of my wife's hometown in Italy, and you just want a pocket camera. So I have been for the last 6-7 years, even before I started YouTube, looking at what different cameras I can get to take. And in the end, I just ended up resorting to my phone until a need arose for the YouTube stuff, to get a better camera for that, which I'll go into a bit more detail about in a minute. But this thing, I haven't even bought any other lenses for this. I am actually going to be buying a nifty 50, which is like a 50mm lens for this, because of the new use case that I'm going to be using this for. And a 50mm lens and probably a 24mm lens I might grab. They're just the cheap ones for like 150, 200 bucks that I'll get, because they're going to be a little bit more appropriate for what I'm going to be using this for in the future. Now, if you suddenly hear some rain, we've got a massive thunderstorm that's literally about to hit as I'm starting to film this, so great. Now, this doesn't have the standard lens cap on it, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this in a minute when I go through some of the other stuff that I've got. Now, that's my camera bag. This is an old Sennheiser HD 215 leatherette case. That's pretty much what I've been using for the life of I've had this camera as my camera bag, and I've just been stuffing it into a backpack. Yeah. Magnanon. This is like an Audi cheap-ass tripod that I picked up from Audi Express, Audi supermarkets one day, because I was like, hey, I need a tripod to just, you know, do some stuff at home. And this thing was like 20 bucks, man. It was so cheap. This thing for the first few years lasted, did its job really well. However, the more I started to use it, the more it started to seize up. I couldn't do panning, tilting, or anything like that, or even just turning anymore, because it just, the lubricant side of it just, it died. And because it was kind of plastic rubbing on plastic, when I tried to add some kind of like Vaseline and stuff to sort of help get it to work, that actually ended up degrading the plastic to the point where it started to crack. And so this thing now is like, set it up, screw it in, and set it and forget it. Do not use it for any kind of like movement-based recording, because it is horrendous. That was probably one of the biggest issues and the biggest frustrations when I was trying to film my cinematic videos with like all of that nice, you know, panning and camera shots and stuff. The moment this thing shit itself, I was up shit creek, and I just could not do the filming that I wanted for that. So I ended up buying this little one here. Again, this is just a cheap little one off Amazon. The quality of this, again, this was like 20 bucks, 30 bucks, you know, off Amazon. It's really, really cheap and flimsy. But it did the type of shots that I wanted to for the last two, I think, cinematic and sort of videos. Yeah. I also use it for the webcam every now and then as well. And for lighting, apart from a couple of IKEA lights that I bought for the house that I ended up stealing in the old house for doing some of the filming and stuff there, they were not in any way, shape or form any kind of filming light. They were just house like IKEA lights. So when I started doing some other close-up stuff, I used some like cheap RGB strips off Amazon, and then I got this from my old work. It's like a battery charging like LED light, and you can sort of move it around and manipulate it and put it wherever you want to do some just filming and having lighting on places. And it's got two settings, so off, bright, and then, well, you can't see this, but it's like bright, medium, off. And that's pretty much what I used. Now the problem is that the battery life in this thing is horrendous, and if I had it on the full brightness, it would last 10 minutes and then it would be dropping down to like below the brightness of the second setting. So I had to time, and it takes forever to recharge. So I had to time when I was using that and make sure whatever footage I got that I needed that for, I got it within the first 5 minutes, because after that the brightness was not the same anymore. So I couldn't match like shot for shot in post-production. It was horrible. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap all of this stuff off of the couch and put all of the new stuff, or most of it, on here, and show you some of the cool new toys that I've got to play with. And I'm really excited and really keen to get back into doing some really cool filming, because what this stuff is going to enable me to do is great. So let me swap all this over and show you what I've got. Alright. Whoa, now that's very bright. And look at all these cool new toys. Now, first of all, you may be noticing how bright this is here. This is only a few moments after I just finished recording, and that is because I also got some new lights. Yeah. Please forgive the state of the house. Again, we've got kids running around here. Or a kid and another one in a belly of my wife. Oh yes, by the way, second child is on the way. Hooray! Talk to you guys about that another time. But anyway, Yeah, so some cool new toys and stuff here that I'll talk to you about. And I'm trying to work out in my head where to start, because this is going to be a bit of a long video while I talk to you guys about all this stuff, and I want to kind of set some of it up and show you firsthand some of the cool stuff that I can do very quickly. But anyway, first of all, my main camera bag. Let's start there, because that's probably got all the goodies in it that, well, to be honest, all of this to me is all goodies equally, because it's all one cool thing. But you guys want to see the camera upgrade and stuff that I've got. So, first of all, new camera bag, because I absolutely needed it. With all of this new equipment and all of this stuff that I got, I needed something to transport it all in. Now, of course, this was not going to come with me overseas. This is for just at home and domestic travel. If I'm going, interstate and things like that, and I want to do some proper photography and stuff, or film videos and stuff with the family and stuff, pretty much this will come with me, because it has everything, combined in it together. So, flip it open. In the top, we have got a bunch of cables and adapters and all your USB storage and bits and pieces and things like that, and some extra Velcro zip straps and stuff. Boring, but these cables are important. They're not power cables. These are link display cables for the equipment in here. So first and foremost, this thing. Yes, this is in a HyperX headphones carry case. This is a white and grey balance cards. I needed these because depending on the light and stuff, when you're using natural light and things like that, I was having a lot of trouble sometimes trying to manually on the Canon camera. I was having a lot of trouble trying to white balance sometimes, and doing it on the tiny little 4-inch screen on the back of the Canon. I wear glasses, and to be honest, it was just difficult. So the way that I now film and the way that I now edit using these means that I've got preset profiles, and I can just put these things in front of the camera when I have it turned on and in the right profile and stuff, set up the white balance to match what work off these, and then I'm like, bam, done. And it takes a few seconds rather than 10 minutes trying to work out whether it's correct. Even doing test footage sometimes to just test whether it looks right. Yeah, anyway, these things are a lifesaver. Anyway, I have been intentionally holding this over top of everything else, and I apologise. Here we go. First of all, the same camera, of course. However, this is now going to be my secondary camera. This is going to be my more B-roll and very specific use case camera. Not going to be using this as my main camera anymore. Thank goodness. It's great for now. How I've got this now set up, it's going to be great, but as my main camera, nope, because it does not do what I want it to. It's limited to 30 FPS 1080p, which is not great for the type of stuff that I want to do or plan to do. So, had to get a new camera. So, where is the new camera, you're probably thinking? Well, no, it is not the GoPro. This is something that I picked up years ago when my wife and I went to Italy, and I wanted to get some stuff, head cam shots for skiing. This is in here because I have a plan to use this for a couple of videos that I'm doing for work. So that's why that's just in here. And I needed a home for it because it was actually just stuck in the bottom of a bedside drawer, and I thought I should probably put this somewhere safe. So it's got its own little hole in here now. This is my new camera. This is the Sony Rx 100 Mark V-A or VA. And you might, if you're familiar with this camera, immediately realize that there's a few extra accessories hanging off of this thing. I have done, no word of a lie, about 2 to 3 years of actual solid research into trying to find out what camera I was going to be happy with. And the more and more I got into what type of footage I wanted to do and was nailing down the type of content I wanted to create, then more and more I realized the RX 100 range of cameras was pretty much coming to the forefront every single time. Not only just for my personal use when I go traveling and stuff, because the fact is I can take this small rig thing off of it and chuck it in my pocket, and it's concealable, if that makes any sense, and I can chuck it in my pocket when I'm skiing down a mountain, and suddenly, I can then whip it out stop on a hill, take a photo, you know, and then chuck it back in and go. I'm not, you know, trying to deal with that on my phone. So that's the plan for that. But also, this thing has features that are going to make my YouTube type of content, especially my cinematic stuff, amazing. Slow motion. This thing does up to 1000 FPS. At lower resolution, like pretty low resolution. However, the type of slow motion that I want to be doing is still going to be at 1080p with this thing, which is like 240, 250 FPS. So expect to see some of that cool stuff. So anyway, what have I got hanging off of this for starters? By the way, if you are not familiar with the Sony Rx 100 line of cameras, do yourself a favor and do some research if you're looking to get your own cameras, because these things are outstanding. Now, I bought this thing brand new retail with a extended 4-year warranty from Ted's Cameras, and I also bought the optional an extra battery and the external charger, because those things don't come with this in the box. You basically can charge the removable battery that this thing comes with. You can actually charge it directly through the camera, and that's how it comes out of the box. So one of the first recommendations someone made to me was, hey, make sure you at the very least pick up the external charger and an extra battery, because my god, you're going to need it, because this thing chews up the battery, especially when you're starting to do high frame rate stuff. So, and 4K video recording. So this thing has, like, frame rate wise and resolution wise, it does 4K up to 5 minutes worth of footage at 4K, which is great for the type of videos that I want to be doing, because for the longer stuff that I plan to do, 1080p is perfect, and for the quicker stuff that I need that 4K for, I'm not going to be shooting over 5 minutes worth of stuff. It's going to be B-roll type stuff that's going to be like maybe 10 seconds per clip, so, or maybe not even that, to be honest. So yeah. Now, I have, as you can see here, a small rig, grip and handle, or I don't know, some people call it a box, like camera box, some people call it just a grip extension, but this camera, as you can see, is very, very small and very, very compact, and apart from that little rubber bit here, there is no grip on this, and you can, I mean, the surface of this, especially new, is very slippery plastic, so this grip, considering it gives you two cold shoes, one at the bottom, one at the top here as well, and all of these extra mounting spots around here, this thing's a no-brainer. It does add a bit of weight because it is very solid. This is real wood, so it feels really nice. The quality is amazing, and it literally just screws in with one screw into the spot at the bottom. As you can see there, this is tailor-made for the RX 100 range. And it gives you still access to the battery and SD card, you know, perfectly fine while you've got this thing mounted. So it doesn't protrude or stick over anything that you need to gain access to. Like, there's all the ports. There's nothing else at the bottom that it's, you know, you're going to intrude with. So, yeah. Now, the eagle-eyed among you who might be familiar with this camera might also notice that I've got something else hanging off the front of this that's not just the lens cap. That's actually the camera, what it looks like by default. And if I turn it on, that's what it looks like by standard. Now you might notice there's a little extra ring around the middle here that's covering up the text a little bit. Well, that's where this comes into play, because that's part of this. So this right here, and what you're seeing here is actually, let me get this thing off, there we go. This is a thread adapter to a 52mm thread adapter, and it is magnetic. And it is so magnetic that I can actually, as you can see here, I can pick the camera up and, like, it is, there you go. The strength of this is, you know, it's not going to save you if you grab this and, like, pick it up, but, like, it's got a really strong magnet on it. Why the hell do I need this? Well, now, sorry if I'm sniffling. Well, this camera, while it does have an inbuilt ND filter for, like, well, this is an ND filter, so as you can see, it's darkening the image slightly. I'm going to give this in layman's term what an ND filter is, but basically, if you're shooting in a place where you have really bright brights and really dark darks, this thing kind of helps you a little bit, especially outdoors, where you're also dealing with shadows and sunlight and all that kind of stuff. This just sort of tempers the image down a bit and enables you to just get some clearer easier to work with footage and better color palette, basically. I'm not going to go into the details of it because I know none of you, maybe not many people on my channel watching this is going to really know much technical, I guess. But anyway, that's what it is. Now, this is an ND filter. This is actually an ND2. The camera has an ND filter built into it. However, this is on here today because I was actually out with my son when we were doing his soccer and stuff, and I wanted to test this and see what it's like, where I can just literally pop it on, pop it off, because to turn the ND filter off, it's a few clicks through a menu to try and turn it off, and I'm like, you know what, I can just pop this on and off much quicker, so that's what that is. But the ND filter part of that is not the main reason why I have this attached to it. Now, for those of you who are familiar with my cinematic type footage, I bought originally in 2018, no, maybe 2017, I bought a reversing ring that enables me to basically go yoink and flip this lens over and use it in reverse. And so I could create a pseudo macro lens. Now, if you guys want to know what images result from that and what it looks like, check out my 6800 Ultra Nalu. It's one of my more recent cinematic videos. That footage, all the close-up stuff, was shot with this camera with the lens flipped in reverse. That's all it was. There was nothing else going on other than me just playing with the manual focus and things like that. It creates a very, very shallow aperture and gives you an amazing depth of field, and you can get, you know, you can get really close to things, but it is not the best and not ideal because the quality of the footage that comes out of it is very subpar, especially when you're trying to do, you know, pull a really clean image to use out of it, if that makes any sense. It was fine for what I used, but the limits of it are, you know, obvious considering you're reversing a lens that's not meant to be reversed. So, yeah. If you have a fingerprint on the lens, yeah, good luck with that. You have to make the inner lens immaculately clean for it to work properly. So that's where this comes in, and all of these here. So these front three pouches are for this camera, and these back three pouches are for this camera. These ones I've actually had for a little while testing them out because they are dirt cheap on Amazon. So if you have one of these cameras with like a 58mm thread at the end of it, you don't even need this. This is actually a bit expensive. It's about $70, $80 Australian on Amazon. It is absolutely worth it if you get one of these cameras though, because you then basically end up with these. And anyway, so I bought these a little while ago to test them out and see what the quality's like before I sort of committed to buying this and all of that for this camera. So, in short, they are amazing. And what are all in these pouches? Well, essentially, they're just more lenses that you literally screw. I'm not going to be able to take it off with one hand, but essentially this is just a ring, as you can see in the photo there, and this is a lens that screws onto it. This is 52mm. That's what all of this is, whereas this is 58. So these have, and hopefully it'll be in this one. Or did I get them backwards? I think I might have. Or maybe I've messed these up. I can feel the size. Okay. I need a way of labeling these. Because there's been a few times where I've like now sat them all together and gone, oh my god, which ones are which? So I'm going to probably stitch some like coloured cotton thread into each bag to find out what they are. Okay, there's a bit of dust on it, but as you can see very quickly there, oh, this is a really nice magnifying lens. Hence why this is called mag filter, by the way. It's actually magnifying filter adapter. That's what it is. Now, there's dust particles on this. I haven't cleaned it. These things attract everything. But this is a 10x, close up to 10. Ideally, you're not going to really use this because it creates so much chromic aberration and things like that in the lens, and a little bit of distortion. You have to really do a bit of lens correction in post-production with the plus 10. However, the main ones you pretty much are going to end up using are plus 1, plus 2, maybe the +4 if you're wanting to do some really close-up stuff. But it means I can literally take these off, screw them onto the end of that normal lens, and voila, a pseudo macro lens. Now, no, this does not replace an actual proper macro lens, but for YouTube quality stuff that I'm doing as a hobbyist, they are perfect. The quality of them is great. The glass quality is great. I would say maybe if you're able to zoom into the actual maybe surface of this, it's not as perfect as buying like a Canon macro lens, for example, or a Sony macro lens or whatever. But for what I'm doing, the kit of 3, you get 3 pouches because there's a lot of different lenses in here. This one's all the zoom ones. That one will have all the different ND filters, which is why there's the thing in there, because that's what I use it with. And then the other one gives you like CPL, UV, and another one which I can't remember the name of. Pretty much I haven't used those ones yet. The main ones that I'm using are the close-up macro ones for both cameras, basically. This camera actually will allow you to zoom in a lot closer than what this one will by default. So for the type of macro stuff that I do for cinematics, and I've got a big fingerprint on there, these things were essentially a must for me to continue the type of footage that I wanted to film. Now, why did I specifically go for the RX VA? All of the newer ones are f2.8 and above, whereas the VA and below, like the Mark III, Mark IV, Mark V is in the original VA, which is discontinued, and now the the original V and now the VA are all f-stop 1.8, which gives you much better low light performance. Again, to complement the type of cinematic stuff that I want to do, especially when it comes to slow motion footage and stuff as well. It means that they just work that little bit better when you can really amplify the light, hence why I've got the bright lights, which are adjustable, by the way. I can go from a warm to a white light, etc. So the idea is that I've bought an ecosystem here of stuff that enables me to do the type of cool content that I want to do. So that's what all of these things are. These things are dirt cheap. I say dirt cheap, but they're, you know, I think this was like less than $30 Australian for the kit of 3 that I can just screw onto that, and all of a sudden I've got a pseudo macro lens, you know, ability to shoot. I grabbed a couple of extra SD cards for this because this requires, especially for the slow motion stuff, the requirements of that Canon are pretty laughable compared to what this Sony is. So big size difference, but a massive big performance and quality and feature upgrade what this camera is. I'm extremely happy with it. I've had it for about 2 days now, just doing some basic like trial run of things, and I don't even have to flash anything onto this camera. I've done some custom setup to use S-Log and Cine 2, sorry, for like the color profiles and stuff that I use in DaVinci Resolve for the color editing and the LUTs and stuff that I use, because it means I don't have to spend like an entire day color grading shit. I can literally just film in S-Log and then dump it in and then use the LUTs, and I'm like, hey, cool, that's the look I want to get for the type of videos and stuff I'm doing. So it just makes that process so much easier compared to doing all of that manually. So yeah, that's another big feature of why I got the Sony. It's an incredible camera. Now, funny enough, you know, this one cost me, I think, $1,000 when I originally got it in 2012. Maybe that's Australian, by the way, so about $1,000 give or take with shipping and everything. And this thing was, with the extended warranty and everything, this one was about $1,300. So yeah, it's an amazing little camera. I don't know of many cameras that have the feature set and quality that this thing has for the price. I know there's a few cameras that do slow motion as well, but they're greatly lacking in other regards. So yeah, this I'm in love with this camera already, and I've had it for 2 days. So definitely still in the honeymoon phase with that thing. Anyway, now the camera is sitting on top of this pouch that's for the light box, the soft box. You just sort of roll it up and put it in that. But there's a heap of other stuff in here that I guess you guys are probably interested in too. This little bag here, Might look like it's concealing something rather interesting, but actually it's rather boring. So that's why I'm doing it now. I'm getting it over and done with. It's all the chargers. So it's all the cables and the chargers that I need for both cameras, essentially, and all the batteries. Yeah, I actually bought for the Canon, I think its standard battery is like 1200 milliamp, and I bought 2 new batteries that are like 1800 milliamp, and I bought a new dual charger for it as well, which actually charges all the Canon batteries much faster. By the way, this is like the tiny little power to USB charger that is the external charger that you get when you buy it separate. And then it has in here, yeah. So in this pouch is actually all the little batteries. And this is just a little padded foam Logitech pouch. I need to hold this, hang on. Oh, there we go. So this is a little pouch that comes with like an old Logitech thing. So anyway, so these are the new batteries. They are Power Extra. Again, they're just off Amazon. They do the job. They got some good ratings. Yeah, they're 1800 milliamp. So they're, I think, 600 milliamp more than what the standard Canon ones are. We'll see when I actually get a chance to use them all and see how they actually go. But in the long term, but yeah. But anyway, this thing, little USB, come on, there we go, micro USB to this thing. This is what this thing goes to. This. That's the tiny little Sony battery that's for the RX. It's tiny. And this is this cool little, this is the external charger for it. May actually get a couple of other batteries for it. They're not too expensive, but yeah, pretty cool. But the camera chews through batteries, so that's, yeah. SD card storage and stuff, so boring. But yeah, so that's just that boring thing out of the way. This is what comes with the mag filter thing. So for example, if I'm actually out and about, I'm not going to have this on there, because as you can see, that's like not secure. This little pouch allows you to slide the mag ring and one lens. It's big enough to just do one lens. It doesn't have the cap, unfortunately, as in you can't fit the cap in there, but you can fit the ring plus a lens inside of that. So if you want to have this on your pouch or on your pocket or something like that when you're, you know, if you're skiing or out and about or whatever you're doing, and your camera in your pocket and you want to sort of hot swap between having it secure or not, you can sort of clip this on somewhere and yeah, drop the camera and go from there. But yeah, tools. So for all of the stuff that I'm about to show you, not just what you see here, but also what's in this bag, I have a heap of tools and stuff. So it's just Allen wrenches and stuff. Power adapter, boring. I'll come on to that in a minute. This thing. This is going to be a much longer video than I planned it to be, but anyway. Now there is a cable in here. There you go. This is a cool little, I'm going to call it a selfie stick, but it's kind of a bit more than a selfie stick. It allows me, with that cable that you just saw fall out there, to plug into, screw it into there, and then I can actually control and do basic function with the video, with the camera while holding it, and it's adjustable. It also has some kick out legs. So if you're wanting to set it up as a pseudo tripod, if you're out and about, you know, you stop off at a cafe or something and you want to sit it on the desk and do some filming, bam, set it up and away it goes. And then this thing, if I hold it, I can spin it, kind of. There we go. That little button just allows you to spin it. Anyway, that's the button to do that. Anyway, cool little thing. It's like an, you know, Amazon branded thing. It is pretty lightweight. This does not have a battery in it, by the way. This thing is, let's say, powered by the phone's battery, if that makes any sense. So it actually gets its power, but this doesn't have any motorized or electronics in it other than just the buttons and then a little LED here that sort of indicates what you're doing with the camera. This thing feels pretty lightweight. Now it matches, let's say, the weight of the camera. That's okay, but in a minute when I show you the other thing that's in this bag here, you might see a concern in a minute that I may have, and I may actually get another more rugged one of these if I plan to use this for something a bit more specific with some of the other equipment here, but I'll come on to that in a minute. So this was kind of a must because some of the content that I want to be doing for personal, for family, for home and things like that, this, take it to like my son's soccer and things like that. I wanted to have something like this, I can you understand. Okay, in here we have another battery charger, and that is for this battery, which is a giant 6600 milliamp battery, and there's another one. Now, no, these batteries, I think technically these ones can be used on the lights, but that's not why I have them. I have them for this. Oh god, the Velcro sticking. A frame, a cool little hood, and this. This is a Feel World. I love the brand of this. Yes, it's got fingerprints all over it. This is an external HDMI in and out monitor, and that's what the batteries are for. They clip into that. This thing can have DC and USB-C power. Also has headphones, which is great. It has a lot of options. This thing is built to handle the type of camera work that it's made for, if that makes any sense. So it's got a lot of color control, a lot of customizability and things like that when you turn it on. And it is a cold shoe mount, which means that I can mount it on either that camera on the top or this camera on the top here. Or if I really want to set it up in a weird way, I can put it on the bottom if I wanted to, but yeah, it can fit on the small cold shoe on the top. So now this is heavy. Well, this is not heavy. This is heavy when you've got this bloody great thing hanging off the back of it. So picture this. This plastic, lightweight, and this is top heavy as it is, by the way. As you can see, it's already top heavy with the camera. Then with this, with the battery, yeah, you need two hands just for a bit of sanity, just to make sure. Given that this has maybe got a plastic hinge in there, you can kind of now understand why I was a bit concerned about using that with this combination. Or definitely not this combination, because that's a much heavier camera. But even with this combination, which I've done, yeah, a little bit worried about it. It's like I wouldn't want to do much fast moving stuff because yeah, I don't know what the longevity of this thing would be with that kind of weight put on, on its head. Anyway, why on earth did I get an external monitor? Okay, one, this is touch control, by the way, and it has the ability to take over control of either of these two cameras. When you are filming stuff and you're trying to do manual focus and really hone in on certain details and make sure the aperture is set like, exactly on the, the exact line of the video card, for example, or whatever you're trying to pull focus on and things like that, trying to use the little flip out screen of this thing or the little flip out screen of this thing, man, I've had some struggle. I had some struggle with that, and that's got pretty much a similar size screen to this, and this one's not touch screen, so you have to use the controls on this, whereas that one's touch screen, which is okay, because I can kind of go, alright, I want to pull focus here, now here, now here, which is okay, but it's not perfect. This thing allows me to see up to 4K footage, so it'll actually natively view what this thing's pulling out, which is not bad. Technically, this is a 1080p screen, but it enables, you can see 4K 30 Hertz. Okay, if you're sort of filming 24 or 30 FPS content. So yeah, I mean, this has obviously got its use cases for the type of content that I want to do. Would I walk around somewhere out in the nature and use this thing? No, it's for the type of content that I want to do here at home. So yeah. Now at the very, very bottom is this really tiny, cute little tripod. In fact, I forgot to show you this, but I actually have had this for a lot longer than any of this other stuff. I actually did buy this a few years ago. Didn't end up using it much, but for this camera, I'm actually going to use it a little bit more, and also for the GoPro, because there's a few things I'm going to do with the GoPro for work-related stuff, and then also for home as well, for personal videos and stuff that we want to do with the family. So this thing's just a handy little, it's like a $2, not even a $2 tripod that you can, you know, use for shit. So that's in there. And that's everything in the camera bag. Now we get on to the fun stuff. This giant big bag. There's nothing interesting in this pocket. It is literally just cables, HDMI cables, and some extra power cables and stuff, so boring. And this one is empty at the moment because it normally has some of this other stuff in it. And actually, it has the power cables and stuff for the lights normally in it. But in here is 2 more bags, 3 more bags, 4 more bags technically. Thermal take. Ignore what it is. It's actually got my cheap little Sony headphones in it. That my little fold-up ones that I used to use on planes and stuff. That I found very, very good quality actually for listening back to audio through my camera and stuff. So that is what that is for. Now there's actually one thing that has not arrived yet. Apart from what I mentioned about the other softbox due to arrive, I've actually also purchased a Sony lavalier, like it's an external microphone that comes with a lavalier mic, so I can actually do some really good lavalier style audio recordings and things like that. And that's also what this is for in there. But yeah, that's due to arrive in December. It's coming from the US. It was on back order. So this is again a tiny little camera bag that I can take traveling if I want to chuck some bits and pieces, but there's something else in here at the moment that's not a camera, but I'll get to that in a minute. First of all, whoops, this. Gotta love the pajama shorts, by the way. This is a very informal video, I hope you guys realise. If you haven't worked out already. Zip. Oh god, I'm not going to be able to... Oh, there we go. Okay. A new tripod. A really, really nice new tripod. This one has some really cool, I want to say, professional settings or abilities to do certain things, like the way that the head functions and moves and things like that. Is a bit more reminiscent of a cinematographer camera, as opposed to just a standard little stand-up straight one, like the one that I've got leaning up there, which is my old one. For instance, the head is has a spring built into it, so when you're like panning up and down, it'll actually spring back up, and if you push it forward, it'll spring back up. If you push it down, it'll spring back up, to enable you to do some less effort panning or like tilting shots and things like that. Basically, it just helps when you've got a heavy camera. It just helps it start moving that little bit easier, if that makes any sense. Anyway, this thing has a lot of mounting options, and this thing is solid as hell. But it had to be for what's in the other bag in there that I'm going to show you. So, let's move this over here. I'm not going to set this up just this very moment, but I am going to set it up in a minute to show you all of this other stuff. So what on earth then is in this thing? Now I got the big red bag, by the way, is to transport all of this stuff in there, because I'm actually going to be doing stuff for work. For those of you who know where I work in the Discord and stuff, I think I've already mentioned to Nathan, but I'm going to be doing some video content stuff for them. And so part of my motivation for also buying some of this stuff is it enables me to do the type of content that I want to do for them. And while they have their own media guys that are doing stuff there, they don't have the time or the knowledge, let's say, to do the type of content that I can do for them. So, yeah. Oh my god, the Velcro on this thing is horrendously tight. Okay. It's up the right way, good. Okay. This, other than the camera, this is the other new star of the show for my YouTube cinematic stuff. Oh, come on. Open. Don't get stuck. It's stuck. It's stuck. Come on. Oh, it is upside down. Okay. There we go. This is a newer slider. A really nice carbon fiber slider that works. It's not a motorized one. It works off a flywheel, essentially. And normally you would have a handle screwed into here and you could use it to turn it and it pulls it back and forth. I have got this strapped in here, so let's take this out. Okay, there we go. I guess here's a good place to start. Very solid metal base, which allows you to mount it with various size threads to different tripods and stuff, with a very strong base. Very important for also why I bought a very sturdy tripod with a big head base. It was very intentional. This thing has legs, so if I want to set it up on desk to get really cool close-up stuff, I can, and I can set it up at different angles and really play around with it, which is kind of cool. I'm going to flip them around that way because that's the way I had them set up before. And it's got feet on either end. Okay. Let's actually flip it over. Now, this is actually fairly lightweight-ish. I don't know if you can see where I'm holding it. Right about there. That's its center of gravity-ish. This is in the middle. This thing's heavy. This is solid metal, this part here. I mean, all of this is metal with carbon fiber, but yeah. Slider. Awesome. I've used it a couple of times for some test stuff. It looks amazing. Now, this stuff is going to look hilariously big, by the way, in comparison to the tiny little Sony camera that I'm more than likely going to be having mounted on this. Most of the time for some of the stuff that I'm going to be using it for. But again, this stuff with that camera will enable me to do some really awesome stuff, which is good, especially when it comes to slow motion and high frame rate stuff. And yeah, it's going to be really cool. I'm very highly motivated for that. Now, we come to what's in this little bag. Now, obviously, if I was to just mount the Sony camera onto this, well, it's in a very fixed position and I have to do a lot of manipulation with this entire thing on the tripod to just get an angle that I want. And that's where this comes in. This is a camera head or tripod head or tripod gimbal or whatever you want to call it, that it gives you another really good mounting point for the camera that enables me to then mount a camera onto the shoe and it'll go onto there, and then I can use this to manipulate the camera and keep this level and steady, or however I want to have this mounted. So for example, if I want to do a tracking shot that goes, up and down of a similar video that I did when I did a build video with a 6800 Ultra, I think it's got some footage in it of me doing that. But I'll talk to you about what I did with that in the future. If I want to go up and down, but I want to have the camera facing the correct way up, well, again, I'm going to need something like that to enable me to do that. So that's why I got that. So this was an additional purchase on top of this, and I recommend if you're going to buy this, grab this with it, because they're pretty much a match made in heaven in terms of what they enable you to do and how this, again, it's same brand, so they've thought ahead here. yeah, these things are basically made to go together, essentially. But they are separate purchases, so just want to keep that in mind. Yeah. Pretty much if you're doing anything other than a rather large cinematography camera or something like that, you would never be mounting a camera directly to this. You need to have something like this. So, yeah. Anyway, as you can see, there is a really nice rubber belt here, which is what's used to, if I undo that, I'm going to need to flip the feet around because it's rubbing. Okay. But yeah, as you can see, this thing, like especially with that flywheel, the way it's geared, like there's a bit of weight here, so it actually takes a bit of strength to actually push this. And you can adjust it by obviously tightening this little, like, I guess the brake, I guess you could call it. So if you're trying to do some really steady stuff, you can kind of do that. Now in here, this little red thing here, that is actually the handle that you would normally put onto here to do this with. I don't have that on there, and there's a really good reason for that. When testing with this, just doing some stuff with it sitting on my desk and just trying to do some tracking shots to see how this works. When you're using the handle, the motion that you're putting into the turn is very much like this, if that makes any sense. Your wrist will very rarely give you a really smooth motion the whole way around a circle, which ends up being like a, in the footage, especially when you're doing high frame rate stuff, you can see it going like like it has moments where it like speeds up slightly, then slows down, speeds up slightly and slows down, which is not great. So a trick that someone showed me when they bought this tripod, one of like just the random guy YouTube channels that I watched that was reviewing this exact slider, he said unclip it and use, like, loosen this off so it's at its nice smoothest running, and pretty much just have your finger on this and use it like a DJ wheel, especially when you're doing really slow stuff, because you can get a smoother rhythm by doing that. To a certain degree, it still does have some of that like this sort of a yoing yoing sort of a motion to it. I guess it's not 100% perfect, but if you're doing like a really small, like from here to here or here to here sort of thing, like you can get much smoother and finer control with your, doing it DJ style than you can, with the thing doing this, if that makes any sense. However, when you're using a slider, most people don't actually use the wheel, they actually will use this itself. Again, which is why this mounted there, you're actually holding the camera itself or the plate, and you're two-handing it. One hand is on the plate, one hand is on, to here basically, and you're essentially doing this with your hand, so you get the exact movement that you want. So yeah. Now, a very quick mini review of this for anyone who's interested in buying it. You can probably see straight away just here, there's a little nick in the carbon fiber here, by the way, and this is real carbon fiber. They're very, very lightweight, but it's not perfect. This one came with a slight bit of damage on here. There's nothing that runs over this, so you don't feel it in the tracking. It's not like it goes bump, bump or anything. So it's out of the way of anything like that. However, it was just an observation that I made that, this has got a dent in the carbon fiber already, which is not great. The other thing is the belt. It's fixed here and here, so that it's like starts here, goes around, and then back. This side of it is very loose, and basically the same guy that did the video about doing this, he said, you can tighten the belt up basically. He said just 1 or 2 notches was enough just to give you perfect tension, because if you're doing any fast tracking stuff where you are getting it like really moving, you might be able to see that already. The backside belt, this one back here, actually vibrates a little bit, and that motion comes across in the footage. Believe it or not, as minor as that thing is, because it's actually tapping part of the metal underneath here, and so you end up with this slight, like, small vibrations that you can see, like ding 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 ding, ding in high frame rate footage. So it also makes a really annoying sound when you really get it going as well. So yeah. So yeah, there's that. So 45 minutes in, I am now going to set up, let's just say, all of this and just show you what it looks like with all the stuff attached to it, to give you a quick, just like, demonstration, I guess, of what it looks like and how funky it's going to look with the Sony camera set up on it. So be right back in a second. Alright guys, so as you can see, tripod is all set up with my Sony camera mounted to it, and yep, it looks just as ridiculous as I thought it would. However, man, does it do what I want it to do though. So yeah, it's really good. So yeah, so I can do everything on, like, let me see here, menu. So the menu and stuff, I haven't got it set up to control externally yet, by the way. Oh, I need the other cable plugged into it, the USB-C one. So I need to go from the multi out here into USB-C here, and then it'll allow me to do that. But anyway, I don't have that plugged in at the moment. Anyway, yeah, so this head here has multiple dials and stuff on it to do all the manipulation with this section of things. So I can actually get, like, the camera in the right angle and stuff. And then of course you've got the tripod as well. So there's a little switch around the front here. If I undo that, that enables me, for example, to then do, you know, full swivel. And then when I tighten it back up, there we go. And now these are all strategically placed, by the way, so that when you are filming, they're in conveniently hand-placed spots. But I can also do this, for example. Now, if I actually loosen this one right off, there's quite a bit of movement on it. Now, you can't tell this. Oh, my finger's across the lens there, sorry. You can't tell this, but when this rig is not all on here, if I was to just have a camera on this, there's actually a spring movement in this. Like, so if I go all the way down to here, to do this, there's a spring assisting me in helping me pull this back up. And when I get to level, you don't really feel it. And then when you get this way, coming it back up like this, there's a spring helping me pick it up, and it tapers off in such a nice fashion that you can get this, like, really nice you know, pivot motion that's very, very smooth. Now, there is a couple of flaws with this tripod. This is a newer tripod. This whole ecosystem is newer stuff. This is not professional, I would say, like cinematography level equipment. This is vlogger, YouTuber, amateur quality stuff that you buy off Amazon. Their gear, I would say, is great for what I want to do. It's great for people getting into the industry and have got a very tight budget and just need to buy equipment to do certain stuff. But there are flaws with, you know, the way this stuff is built. And some of the materials are cheapish. This definitely has good build quality. There's obviously just a few blemishes and things like that that are with it to hit the price point. For example, this part is plastic. This is metal. And most of this is all metal. These parts are plastic and stuff. But this grip is plastic, and I'm actually going to be getting a... this one's not. This is a nice leathery one on top of metal here, so this is really good. And that's all metal, by the way, not plastic. So that's, yeah. So actually we're getting another grip for this to put on this, because this one's really flimsy feeling. Anyway, the main flaw that I've found is that, well, this thing's heavy. And let's see if I can demonstrate this. So I'm going to try and hold my phone still. Okay. Watch this when I slide it across. No, okay, that's not really going to show up on camera. Okay, let me do it by hand. If I can get it to do it properly. Is it going to do it? Maybe not. It does slightly, there you go. Okay, so there's a bit of play in this, and that actually comes from this little gap here, which is a part of the, when I loosen it off here, it's a part of this motion here. When you've got this loose or somewhat loose, there's some wobble here. Again, funny enough, the same person that did the video on the slider also bought this same tripod, and he suggested that you unassemble this stack of stuff here by unscrewing this all the way, and he got a stainless steel washer and put inside. He's like, this gap doesn't ever tighten or close, and it's just a gap that's there. And he got an aluminium washer that pretty much takes up all of that space, because that's, I don't know if you can see that. See, open, shut, open. Let me just see the play there. Yeah, that's not great. That's the main downside to this tripod. So he put a nice big stainless steel washer inside of there that pretty much took up all the space, kept it nice, free in movement. He put a bit of, I don't know what it was, the type of lubricant or something that he used. It might have just been Vaseline or something, but he put something in there that doesn't corrode plastic, or doesn't eat away at plastic, and that just kept it just nice and smooth. And yeah, meant that when you're using a heavy slider, for example, if you're trying to do a shot with a camera and you're doing this from left to right, you don't want this thing going like that, like tipping over on you as you're trying to do your steady left to right tracking shot. So yeah, so there's a few quirks with this sort of stuff. So again, that's another reason why I did so much research into trying to find all the right equipment. And I learnt watched so many videos on every single bit of kit that I bought, down to even the cables to link up, between the camera and, that, to make sure that it had certain controls. So like the actual, for example, the cable that links from the Canon to the monitor allows me to do control over the HDMI cable, and not all HDMI cables allow you to do that. Some of them will actually have glitches, and it'll drop out. And anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of effort that I put into that, and so I guess that's why it's also taken me so long to finally buy all this equipment. It is quite late at night now. I think it's pushing maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I think, here, and I'm tired. I'm very hay fevery, so my eyes are like puffy and red, and looks like I've been crying, and I basically have, because of bloody hay fever. I'm mowing all the lawns here at the house today, so yeah. Anyway, content. What's going to happen in the future? So, I have got a few videos and stuff that I'm going to be working on. There's going to be an adjustment period while I've got a few videos that I'm planning to do. There's a lot of cars outside. Like, not outside our house, but like down the street almost. Like a lot of bikes and stuff. Like bikie gang kind of. Yeah, wow, sounds like a Fast and Furious street race going on out there. That's crazy. Anyway, there's going to be a period, a learning curve period, where I'm going to be learning how to use all this equipment correctly. I've done enough research into the camera and the camera setup and the way that I want to film that there's going to be that initial learning curve to learn to use the camera. But I think I've already, through a lot of the videos I'm watching and the already like 3-4 days I've had with the camera, or 2 days now, sorry, with the camera, to sort of play around with it enough to see what I want to be doing with it. It's a matter of now just learning the rest of the equipment and putting the finishing touches on it. I still need the Sony voice recorder to turn up so I can make some much better audio recordings with some of the videos and stuff that I want to do. Because my microphone that I've got, the Snowball one that I've got, one of the microphone settings on it has just stopped working, which means I have to have it in two-way mode. It's if you've got people, like one person sitting on one side of the mic and someone else sitting on the other side of the microphone. That's the only mode that it works in now, which is really crap, because then you hear clicking of the mouse, the keyboard and all that kind of shit if I'm doing stuff. So that's not great. It's going to have its uses for, game and Skype and things like that, but for when it comes to the content and stuff that I'm doing, it's not going to work. So a few videos planned for the next few months that are going to really put this stuff to the test, and hopefully then it's going to be like a once a month sort of deal for the big videos. But here's the other kicker. I'm going to be doing more stuff for work eventually, and that's going to ramp up, especially in probably the new year, once some more, let's say, less proof of concept and more scheduled type videos are going to start coming out through work. And I can't say any more than that, because I can't say any more than that about what it is I'm doing for them. But anyway, so yeah, finally I have the motivation, I have the gear. It's time to get back onto filming some cool videos. So yeah, see you guys soon. Crazy setup, yeah.